arguably the biggest anime event on Earth happened this weekend, and you didn't hear about it. Well, it's mostly because you don't speak Japanese. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. This past weekend, the biggest anime event on Earth, Jump Festa, happened over in Japan. And while in America, we have massively important anime conventions like Anime Expo in LA, and things like Anime New York and Comic-Con in San Diego in New York, where massive news gets broken to the American English-speaking audience about what's going on in the anime world over in Japan. Before any of that happens, everything gets announced at Jump Festa over in Japan. However, because Jump Festa happens in the middle of the night over here in America, and because they didn't start posting translated English live streams of Jump Festa until last year, what happens at Jump Festa has always been kind of a big question mark to us, the English-speaking audience. However, now that all the announcements made at big stages are translated in English immediately, as you can watch the live stream of Jump Festa for free on their website in English, fortunately, it's much easier for us, the English-speaking anime consumer, to understand what's going on 3,000 miles away. And while every year at Jump Festa is pretty crazy, as it's kind of like the coming out party for any and all anime project coming up in the next year, as it always happens in mid to late December, this year's Jump Festa was one for the books, as not only did we get a myriad of incredible trailers, but we also got some incredibly important announcements that we never thought we would see. Shows that have been gone for years and studios that have been radio silent on whether or not they were ever going to be continued have now been announced to be coming back all in 2024. On top of this, shows that are doing well are being announced to get a second season, incredibly popular anime whose fans can't seem to get a new chapter or apparently getting a fighting game. Netflix appears to be tapping into the infinite money glitch that is One Piece. Oh, and JJK's manga is going to be done soon. All that and a lot more happened this year, so we should get into it. Because today we're talking everything you need to know about what happened at Jump Festa 2023. But before we give you the rundown on all things anime news, guys, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell. And if you like the idea of me being the source of your anime news, then you're going to love my anime podcast, Taku's Anonymous, where me and Danny Mata break down everything that happened in anime this week. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Or if you guys just want to look like you keep up with anime news, go ahead and meander on over into my merch store, takusanonymous.net, where you can pick up some of the greatest anime t-shirts, sweatshirts, and sticker packs known to man. So, Jump Festa. If ever there was a reason to learn Japanese up until 2 years ago, it was it. Because while the anime that get announced at Jump Festa were subbed and dubbed eventually, Jump Festa never was. And thus Jump Festa was treated like manga for a long time. That is to say that when announcements came out of Jump Festa, we had to wait for bilingual Japanese English speakers to tell us what happened at Jump Festa. We had to read roughly translated Japanese articles telling us that Naruto was getting a new season or something like that. But now those days are behind us. Fortunately, in the last couple of years, Japan realized, oh, people outside of Japan watch all this too, which made it substantially easier for your average international anime enjoyer to understand what was coming up project-wise in the next year. However, what really hasn't happened, at least so far as I can see, is English content creators or just English blog writers writing down everything that happened at Jump Festa. And while news isn't what we usually do on this page, I figured since I couldn't find anybody who announced everything that happened at Jump Festa, I might as well be the person to do it. So with no further ado, let's get you as informed as possible. 2024 is going to be a big year for anime, and people believe that that big year is going to be carried on the back of the newest gen of anime. That is to say, the big names of anime that are dropping their first seasons in 2024, like the Dan Dan Dan, Solo Leveling, and Kaiju number 8. And while all three of these 2024 anime had big announcements at Jump Festa, I believe that Kaiju number 8's announcement made the biggest splash. See, the Kaiju number 8 team came to Jump Festa and showed off their third trailer. And since the industry standard nowadays appears to be 4 trailers, this is going to be our second to last Kaiju number 8 trailer before we get its release in April 2024. However, in terms of trailers that we've gotten thus far from Kaiju number 8, this one definitely showed us the most animation-wise. See, one of the biggest concerns with Kaiju number 8 is the fact that it's a show about kaiju, and therefore it's a show about massive monsters interacting with a much smaller world. Which means that when you pan out from said monster to show its scale, unfortunately, you're going to have to either rely on a ton of hand-drawn animation or CGI. And thus one of the biggest fears heading into Kaiju number 8 is that they were going to rely on CGI, and not in a good way. However, I believe that this trailer is the first trailer to truly address that possible issue, as during this trailer we do get to see multiple different kaiju, and those kaiju are animated using CGI. However, I believe the term CGI has a connotation nowadays that it no longer deserves, as shows like Beastars, Kengan Ashura, and AOT have shown us that CGI can look really good. And from the little CGI that I was able to see in this trailer, it appears as though the CGI level appears to be somewhere around MAPPA CGI level in the last season of AOT. Not like the movie level, but like the Marley invasion level. So good. Not perfect, but pretty good. Outside of that, it appears as though the art style of the show is going to be somewhat simple, and I don't mean that in a bad way. See, facial expressions in the manga themselves are rather simple, and it appears as though that simplistic style has conveyed over to the anime pretty well. But basically everything that I saw from the action in the trailer makes me believe that Kaiju number 8 is going to fall somewhere between Mob Psycho and this most recent season of JJK. That is to say that it's going to focus on massive set pieces in the motion through those set pieces, while not necessarily paying attention to all the detail. The detail is only taken away to convey motion. The reason that I said it's going to be a spectrum between Mob Psycho and this most recent season of JJK, however, is because JJK is the end of the spectrum when it comes to motion over detail, while Mob Psycho has a ton of motion, but also has a fair amount of detail. And ironically, I would say if I got any vibe from this trailer, it would be a slightly worse version of season 1 of One Punch Man. Now, that's not me saying that One Punch Man is better than Kaiju number 8, but the animation in season 1 of One Punch Man is breathtaking. But enough about men in their 30s trying to reestablish a new career. Let's talk about 17-year-olds falling in love with crazy assassins. 18 years old? How old is Denji? I think he's underage. I think what Himeno tried to do was wrong. Whatever, that doesn't matter. We're talking about Chainsaw Man. Yes, Chainsaw Man, the show that nobody knew if it would get a season 2, is getting a movie. Specifically, the Bomb Girl arc, aka the Reze arc. Reze? I call her Reze. I just watched a video of a man wearing a Reze t-shirt saying that it's pronounced Reze, so that's what I'm going with. Anyways, she's getting a movie. And a lot of people are really happy about that for a couple of reasons. One, many people believe that the Reze arc, also known as the Bomb Girl arc, is the best arc in all of Chainsaw Man. And I personally wouldn't agree, but it is very good. And those who do feel as though the Reze arc is the best arc in all of Chainsaw Man are happy about the fact that the arc is getting its own isolated piece of content, which means meticulous attention to detail will be paid to this incredible arc. The other reason that people are happy that this got announced is because it means more Chainsaw Man. See, for those of you who don't know, anime's profitability is almost entirely dictated by Blu-ray sales, as streaming an anime's episode to Japanese television or a streaming service like Crunchyroll basically nets zero money, and therefore the success of an anime is entirely dictated on how many Blu-rays they sell, and America does not buy Blu-rays. Therefore, even though Chainsaw Man was inarguably the most popular anime on Earth in America when it was released, because it didn't sell well Blu-ray wise in Japan, it was considered a financial failure, and therefore nobody was entirely sure as to whether or not we would ever see more Chainsaw Man, which, when you love Chainsaw Man as much as I do, is not great news. However, with the releasing of the Reze movie, it's now confirmed we're moving forward with Chainsaw Man. But why a movie? Well, I actually think the answer is rather obvious there. A movie is guaranteed money. Remember what I just said about how streaming an anime episode out on Japanese television or Crunchyroll nets in $0? Yeah, releasing a movie doesn't do that. And ever since Mugen Train set the precedent that you can lock manga canon arcs behind a $15 movie ticket and people will go see it in droves, you best believe that MAPPA figured, well, if we're not gonna make money on Blu-ray sales, we might as well make America pay to watch this movie. And while this movie will obviously come to streaming services after it's out of theaters, you best believe I'm going to see Chainsaw Man the second it comes out in movie theaters. On top of this, the instant influx of cash that MAPPA will be seeing will allow them to deem whether or not Chainsaw Man is worthy of continuing. And since the Bomb Girl arc is only 12 chapters long in the manga, while season 1 was 38 chapters of the manga, technically to get this movie out, MAPPA's only doing a third of the work, comparatively to animating season 1. And thus MAPPA can instantly monetize Chainsaw Man, gauge how much it's worth, all with less work than making an entire season 2. It's actually kind of genius, if you ask me. And while there's no release date tied to this movie just quite yet, it's most likely going to release in 2024. So get your popcorn. Pretty big news. Speaking of big news, would you guys say that the entirety of One Piece getting reanimated and re-released is big news? Because I would. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Netflix realized they like making money, and they realized that nerds have a lot of it. So in order to celebrate One Piece's anime coming out 25 years ago, you're dying. Netflix and Wit Studios are working together to reanimate One Piece. And while we all want to sit here and go, wow, genius, good job, why did nobody do this earlier? Listen, I understand that Netflix just saw their live action make a gazillion dollars, and therefore the natural reaction would be, oh yeah, get some more of that One Piece money. How is this not something that every old major anime hasn't done yet? We live in an era of sequels, trilogies, and remakes. And somehow the billion-dollar IP that is One Piece was never like, oh, you guys know how everyone's like, oh, I don't want to watch your show because the pacing's bad and the first 400 episodes don't look that great. What if we fixed that? See, because here's the thing. While technically all that's been announced in regards to this remake by Wit and Netflix is that One Piece is being taken on by a new team of modern day animators, you bet your sweet butt they're fixing the pacing. Because here's the thing. The reason that One Piece's pacing is the way that it is because the manga and the anime were always kind of close. And so sometimes because the anime came out weekly and we can't do filler, we just slowed everything down. But this project is starting in the East Blue Saga, the beginning, and we are on chapter 1100 of One Piece. Your average modern day anime's pacing is about 3 chapters per 1 episode. Some go higher, some go lower, but 3.5 is pretty standard. This means that One Piece, paced like a new gen anime, should be about 366 episodes. Now the East Blue Saga, which is currently all that's been confirmed to be being reanimated, is 100 chapters long. Now at 24 episodes at 3 chapters an episode, that would only be about 75 chapters. So not enough to cover the entirety of the East Blue Saga. However, like I said, some people do more, some people do less. While 4 chapters an episode is a lot, it's not unheard of, and thus it's a possibility that technically One Piece is going to be broken up into its sagas, and those sagas will be released seasonally. At least this is what I hope happens, because if One Piece is weekly again, we're just going to run into the same issues. And since this is a modern day team with no worries of catching up with the manga, there's really no reason to release it weekly. Also, pretty much every single saga in One Piece, that is the East Blue Saga, the Alabasta Saga, the Sky Island Saga, the Water 7 Saga, Thriller Bark Saga, the Summit War Saga, the Fishman Island Saga, the Dressrosa Saga, the Four Emperors Saga, all happen to be somewhere around 100-ish chapters. Well, the Four Emperors Saga is actually like 350 chapters now. But Dressrosa, Zoe / Whole Cake Island, and Wano are all roughly 100-ish chapters. So this could be the start of something very interesting for One Piece lovers, or people who want to get into One Piece without the incredibly daunting task of watching 1100 episodes of anime. However, there's no release date for this reanimation quite yet. Also, they tease the Elbath arc coming in the manga, but I'm not there yet, so that means nothing to me. But enough about One Piece, let's get to the real anime, like Haikyuu. Because while I am excited to see One Piece reanimated, what I'm more excited about is the fact that Haikyuu is coming back finally. The last episode of Haikyuu that came out was in December of 2020. 3 years ago. Kurosamo and Nakoma have been standing across from each other on the court for 3 whole years. And Haikyuu has decided to go to the Chainsaw Man / Mugen Train route and continue their story with a movie. Which kind of makes sense, I guess, because the continuation movie will focus only on Kurosano versus Nakoma. So it's gonna be a big year for manga canon movies. That movie comes out February 16th, 2024, and I am literally shaking with excitement. Yeah. Nick's a big Haikyuu fan. You didn't know that about me because I never talk about it. Mostly because the last time that there was Haikyuu episodes coming out, I didn't have a YouTube page yet. But enough about manga continuing. What about manga ending? Because one of the biggest announcements that came out of Jump Festa wasn't even a trailer or an announcement. See, because Gege Akutami, the mangaka of JJK, stated during a panel that this is probably the last time he would ever be to a Jump Festa while JJK was still in serialization. That is to say that Gege Akutami is saying that JJK will be over manga-wise by the time of Jump Festa 2024. It might be Jump Festa 2025. I don't know if they do the next, because it happens in 2023, but it's mostly about 2024. I don't know. Me and Cody will have a talk. I'll Google it. It'll be in the title. It'll be correct. But you're talking to past Nick right now, baby. Anyways, apparently I was the only person on Earth who wasn't surprised by this news. See, I technically at the beginning of this year believed that JJK's manga would be over by the time that this year ended. But Gege Akutami said about midway through the year that he was going to make JJK last a little bit longer than originally anticipated. And thus everybody was like, oh, is this the final arc? Oh, is there going to be more? But if you keep up with the JJK manga, you'll know there's not 52 chapters left. Like, we're there. We're doing the final fights. Some of them are over. I would have been more surprised if JJK was still running next Jump Festa. I guess now we know JJK has at max 51 chapters left, which could be even less considering the fact that Gege Akutami takes every other week off nowadays. Like, the only way that we're getting 52 more chapters of JJK is if we get a 3-chapter spread of Sukuna battling every single person from JJK. Like, the story's just gonna close with the final battle we've all been waiting for, Sukuna versus Miwa. But speaking of Giga Chads like Miwa, we also got a big Mashal announcement. I mean, if you're into Mashal, that is. As Mashal released what I can really only surmise as a mobile game trailer. Now, it's not that Mashal's releasing a mobile game, it's just that their new trailer looked like it belonged to a mobile game. As this trailer which showed off the next season of Mashal, which is coming out in January, probably January 6th, because apparently a lot of anime this year are celebrating Insurrection Day. We basically got to see like a Genshin silhouette slideshow of important characters, the Divine Visionaries showing up, because the majority of the season is going to revolve around the Divine Visionary test, which is the Divine Visionaries testing to see who's going to be joining them this this year, and thus the season is revolving around Mashal trying to become a divine visionary. Out of all the trailers that came out of Jump Festa, this one was definitely the least impressive, but that can be forgiven when you consider the fact that the anime comes out in like 2 weeks. Like, they got more important things to do, right? And it's not like a season 2 trailer for Mashal was gonna get anybody new to watch Mashal. You're either in or you're out by this point. But speaking of somewhat underwhelming trailers for season 2s of shows, we also got a trailer for the second part of Undead Unluck. Not the second season. The season's just gonna keep going. Because for those of you who are keeping up with Undead Unluck, and if you're not, please do. It's actually very good. Objectively, the second best looking anime this season. Oh, Nick, what about Frieren? Yeah, Frieren's a walking simulator like 70% of the time. They do be animating the hell out of Stark for no reason though. But yeah, anyways, we got a trailer for the second part of season 1 of Undead Unluck, which is gonna revolve around the Unmoved/Unmend arc and the introduction of one of the biggest baddies in all of Undead Unluck. And so in the trailer, we get to see a couple of pivotal Tatiana moments that are going to come up in the second part. We got to see what Unmoved looks like with his dye hair tie. We got to peek into the battle between Unmend and Andy. And we got some Billy moments, we'll call them. And all in all, it looked like a continuation of the story. Like, I wish I could say it was like an incredible trailer, but it just looked like Undead Unluck, which I've been watching on a weekly basis, so I'm just kind of used to how it looks. It looks good, the motion is incredible, the art style's fantastic, but it just looked like a trailer for Undead Unluck. But since about halfway through part 2 of season 1 is where the real plot begins to develop in Undead Unluck, I do think it's gonna be really good for the show, as part 2 is gonna introduce the person who serves as the main antagonist for the part 1 of the manga, let's call it. So once again, just like with Mashal, if you're watching Undead Unluck, it was like, oh, cool. More Undead Unluck. Or really, do watch the show. It's complicated, and I need more complicated shows to explain on this page. But enough about trailers that didn't make a big splash. Let's talk about arguably the biggest trailer that's dropped in a while, MHA's 7th season trailer. Yes, MHA is coming back for its 7th season. I don't think anybody was in doubt of that, but now we know. We've actually known that MHA was coming back for its 7th season for a while, but now we have a trailer. And in this trailer for the 7th season of MHA, we got to see the faces of a lot of the characters that play pivotal roles in the Stars and Stripes arc and the War arc, like Stars and Stripes, who looks good. We also got to see Deku with Uchaku, we got to see Spinner, we got to see Dabi and Toga, and we actually got to look into one of the more important moments that's gonna happen in this upcoming season, Shigaraki battling with a child inside of him. Now, all in all, I wish I could sit here and tell you that watching this trailer has made me lose all possible fear about this season not being animated as well as previous seasons. Since obviously, I think we can all acknowledge that season 6 was a relatively big step back animation-wise. But everything that I've seen in this trailer makes me believe that this should be a good MHA animation season, as there seems to be a fair amount of motion in the trailer itself. Whether that be Shoto trying to figure out his phosphorus burn, or Ida running from rocks, or Stars and Stripes flying in on warplanes, there appears to be a substantial amount more fluid motion than there was in season 6. But who can say, really? It's a trailer. But fortunately for you and me, we don't have to pontificate about whether or not the animation is going to be good, because the show comes out January 6th. Yeah, they went from announcing it was going to come out to it coming out in 3 weeks. On top of this, like, announcing season 7 of one of the biggest animes on Earth wasn't enough, the MHA camp also doubled down with their announcements, giving a release date to their 4th movie. See, we learned a couple of months ago that MHA was in the process of planning a 4th movie, which is called MHA Movie 4. They got really creative with it. But that and the fact that the movie was going to take place during the 6th season's timeline is basically all we knew about it. But now, on top of those two incredibly crucial pieces of information, we also know the movie is going to come out in summer 2024. So bust out the Bakudeku cosplays, because it's a big year for MHA. You know who it's not a big year for? Hunter x Hunter. Because boy oh boy, has it officially been a year since we got new chapters for Hunter x Hunter. Don't worry, Hunter x Hunter made a big announcement at Jump Festa. You want to know what it is? We're getting a fighting game. A fighting game. A fighting game being produced by gaming giants like Bushiroad Gaming, who make such compelling games as Goblin Slayer Another Adventure Nightmare Feast. Or, and I'm gonna have to read this one, Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Burst Forth Chorogon Breath. Or El Rontero's Wanderings. You know, staples in the community. But don't worry, the game itself is being made by a company known as Ating, which makes DNF Duel. And that's literally all I could find. But don't worry, we get more information on Insurrection Day, January 6th. And something tells me I'm gonna be a little inspired to charge some buildings. Let's just say my hopes aren't high, considering the fact that the biggest anime IP on Earth, JJK, just released an absolute stinker of a fighting game. But we got this, Togashi. Oh, Nick, what do you mean you haven't got a chapter of JJK? Togashi released the possible ending in case he dies before he finishes it onto Twitter recently, and you didn't even understand what he was saying there. That was quieter than I thought it would be. On the brighter side of things, the Dawn to Dawn got a new trailer. If you can call a teaser trailer a trailer, but it was still pretty good for a teaser trailer. And while the teaser trailer didn't give us a whole lot to work with, it did give us probably our best ever look into what the art style of the Dawn to Dawn is gonna look like. And wow. The art style and creative direction of this show are gonna be next level. Whether it be the usage of color, the high energy music, or just the characters existing perfectly on screen, I see no world in which the Dawn to Dawn, after seeing this trailer, fails. Not to mention just the few snippets of voice acting we get from this trailer are next level, as all the characters whose voices we get to hear are exactly as how I would have pictured them while reading the manga. And while this was technically just a teaser trailer, it did tell us when the show would be released. And that is January. I'm kidding, it's October. So objectively, out of all the anime and anime projects coming out of Jump Festa, the Dawn to Dawn is the furthest away. I'm willing to wait. It looks fantastic, and I want it to be done well. Listen, Turbo Granny needs at least 6 months to be animated. Oh, they really are showing her off in all the trailers. But Science Star, take your time. I'm pretty sure this is all that they're working on, and that is perfect. But why give your animators time and money and a safe workplace environment to get shows done when you can just work them to the bone for no money? Because boy oh boy, is that what Mappa does, and boy oh boy, are they gonna keep doing it, because Hell's Paradise Season 2 got announced. Now, when it comes to the amount of effort that Mappa puts into animating TV shows, Hell's Paradise appears to be pretty low on the list, down there with Vinland Saga and Yuri on Ice, which neither look bad, but they don't need JJK levels of attention. Mappa throwing season 2 of Hell's Paradise onto their plate is not going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. But we got a key visual, so it's happening. I was so-so on season 1. I'm sure I'll be slightly more lukewarm on season 2. Love the manga. It's just something about the anime adaptation lacked soul to me. And it was probably because the animators didn't get nearly enough time to finish the project. But enough about key visuals. Let's talk about more TV shows coming out on January 6th. Because the last piece of news that we have is that Solo Leveling's 4th trailer dropped. And my God, it looks so good. Okay, so I've been particularly outspoken about the fact that I love how Shangri-La Frontier looks. I don't love the TV show. I think I just find isekai boring nowadays, but I love the art style of Shangri-La Frontier. Everything that I saw from this 4th trailer of Solo Leveling takes Shangri-La Frontier's art style to a level I didn't think possible. It is detailed, colorful, shadowed correctly. The action looks intense. The gore looks gory. The set pieces look incredible. The artistic direction and camera angles that they choose, so good. The change in Sun Jin-woo from weakest to strongest aesthetically looks fantastic. Even the small details, so the way that his health bar presents itself to him while he's running away from enemies, looks great. And all of this makes sense when you consider the fact that it's animated by one of the greatest studios to ever do it, A1 Pictures. On top of this, the VA performance in the trailer is pretty good. It's not into Dawn to Dawn level, but it's pretty good. I also think recently I've been skewed by Mahito's VA performance, because Mahito's VA performance is like generational. So it's been really hard for me to be like, oh yeah, they're conveying distress really well recently. And what's crazy is that this first season of Solo Leveling comes out on January 6th, and they still managed to make an incredible trailer. So I don't know, maybe I'm making excuses for Mashal for all the wrong reasons. And with that, that's pretty much everything that happened at Jump Festa. Oh, that and a Nuke and Thomas spinoff got announced, and they're gonna do a 20th anniversary project that they haven't announced yet. And with that, that's everything that was announced at Jump Festa, possibly 2023, maybe 2024. Still past Nick. Less past Nick than the past Nick who brought this up. But out of all of these announcements, what are you guys most excited about? Tell me in the comments below. And while you guys are down there, please, for me, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit that noti bell.
Oh, Nick, you didn't announce that Honkai Star Rail's releasing its 18th character in the last 4 years. How dare you? What do you...
I can't get everything.